The Flies, Les Mouches, is a play by Jean-Paul Sartre, first performed in 1943. Set in the ancient city of Argos, the play reinterprets the story of Orestes and Electra from Greek mythology, exploring themes of freedom, responsibility, and guilt. The play was written during the Nazi occupation of France and serves as an allegory for resistance against oppression. The play begins in the city of Argos, which is under a curse. The air is thick with flies, which represent the lingering guilt and sorrow that engulfs the city. The citizens of Argos live in constant remorse for the murder of their former king, Agamemnon, by his wife Clytemnestra and her lover Aegistheus, who is now the king. Aegistheus uses this collective guilt to control the populace, enforcing annual periods of mourning and penitence, known as the Dead Men's Day. In this oppressive atmosphere, Orestes, the estranged son of Agamemnon and Clytemnestra and the brother of Electra, returns to Argos after many years. Disguised as a traveler, he is initially unaware of his lineage, but soon discovers his identity. Orestes witnesses the debased and masochistic rituals with which the people of Argos flagellate themselves under the tyrannical rule of Aegistheus. Electra, on the other hand, mourns her father's death, but resents the enforced rituals, harboring a deep desire for revenge. Jupiter, the king of gods, bent on maintaining the status quo and his own power, tries to manipulate Orestes into accepting the prescribed role of avenging son and future ruler of Argos. He urges Orestes to take revenge on Clytemnestra and Aegistheus, and then assume the throne, thus perpetuating the cycle of retribution and oppression. Orestes, however, rejects Jupiter's plan and the existential shackles that come with it. He interacts with the tutor, who raised him after Agamemnon's death, and with this confrontation, Orestes begins to understand his existential freedom and the weight of his choices. Orestes decides to act according to his own understanding of justice and freedom, not bound by the gods' decrees or human traditions. He kills Clytemnestra and Aegistheus, freeing himself and Electra from their ancestral curses. This act of regicide rejects the deterministic view of life and asserts the power of human freedom and responsibility. However, this liberation comes at a great personal cost. Orestes must then confront the Furies, ancient deities that personify guilt and vengeance. They pursue and torment him for his matricide. But where the citizens of Argos submit to such otherworldly torment, Orestes stands firm. He recognizes the Furies for what they are, external projections of his own consciousness and society's oppressive constructs, and refuses to be swayed by them. In embracing his guilt and the consequences of his acts, Orestes becomes truly free, as he has chosen and owned his actions without yielding to external coercion. His declaration of freedom is a radical responsibility to oneself and actions, central to Sartre's existentialist philosophy. Electra initially follows Orestes' example, exhilarated by the new possibilities of freedom. However, she falters under the weight of guilt, unable to bear the isolation that comes with Orestes' path. She ultimately chooses to stay in Argos, seeking refuge in the familiar yet stifling embrace of guilt and submitting to the oppressive regime once again. Orestes, having now claimed his freedom, invites the people of Argos to do the same and to live authentically. They are, however, too entrenched in their ways and afraid of the responsibility that freedom entails. They reject Orestes' plea, choosing instead to remain in their resigned comfort and sorrow, slaves to their guilt, under the direction of a new leader who promises the same oppressive order as Aegistheus. Spurned by the city he tried to free, Orestes departs alone. As he leaves Argos, he embraces his solitary journey towards a future in which he must continually recreate his essence through his actions, embodying the existentialist principle that existence precedes essence. Jupiter, realizing that he has failed to control Orestes through guilt and that his influence over humanity is waning as individuals realize their freedom, retreats to Mount Olympus. Orestes' act has signified the decline of divine power and the rise of human freedom and responsibility. The Flies ends on a triumphant yet somber note, with Orestes both liberated and burdened by his freedom. Though he is condemned to be free and forever followed by the Furies, Orestes' journey represents a profound existential message, that true freedom exists in the acceptance of one's full responsibility for their choices and in resisting external pressures that seek to determine our lives. Sartre's play is a powerful political allegory and a philosophical statement. It speaks to the human condition under subjugating forces, be they tyranny, societal expectations, or divine decrees. Through Orestes' rebellion and existential awakening, The Flies portrays the struggle of humanity to assert individual freedom against overwhelming odds and to create meaning in an absurd world. Orestes' decision to live authentically and without apology, even in the face of alienation and condemnation, underscores Sartre's belief in the tremendous potential for liberation and self-definition inherent in the human spirit.